Why play Fiddlesticks Jungle? Well, he has a great and healthy clear. He is a beast in a team fight, he brings tons of damage, and he actually brings really good CC as well. However, he is reliant on his ultimate when teamfighting, and he is squishy, needing to rely on both his W sustain and often a Zhonya's. Fiddlesticks' passive is instead of starting games with a warding totem, he instead gets scarecrows. These act very similar to wards, however when an enemy comes across them, they instead pretend to be Fiddlesticks for a short amount of time. In addition, if Fiddlesticks stands still for 2 seconds, he also pretends to be one of his scarecrows. And once he hits level 6, these scarecrows also sweep the area to clear enemy vision. Fiddlesticks' Q has a passive where if he's out of combat and not visible to the enemy team, his next damaging ability will fear the targets. This is essentially a great way to jump scare your opponents fearing them. Fiddlesticks' Q is a point and click ability which deals damage and fears the target. If the target has been recently feared, it instead deals a massive amount of additional damage and massively slows the target. Fiddlesticks' W causes a tether between himself and nearby enemies where he channels this for 2 seconds, revealing them. During this time, he damages all enemies and also heals himself. If he is able to fully channel his W, 60% of the cooldown is refunded. Fiddlesticks' E is a rectangular skill shot which has a circle in the middle. All enemies hit by this ability are damaged and slowed, and enemies hit by the middle are also silenced. Fiddlesticks' ultimate is what makes him so great as a champion. Upon use, it causes him to channel the ability for 1.5 seconds before blinking to the target location. After this time, he creates a circle around himself which deals a massive amount of damage for 5 seconds. And of course, due to the passive on his Q, if you can start this from out of vision, jump over a wall into the enemy team, not only will you be doing massive amounts of damage, but will also fear them all. For combos, your main go-to is to simply Q into E into W. And you can also use W into E if you think they'll be able to escape your full W. When using ultimate, start from out of vision and then land it on as many people as possible for the fear. After this, use Q into E into W, using Zhonya's to keep yourself safe if needed. Zhonya's will interrupt the channel on your W, but it won't interrupt the circle around you on the ultimate. For matchups, Fiddle actually does really well into assassin junglers who he can easily CC and deal tons of damage. And he can struggle against champions that can survive his damage and lock him down. For runes, take this, first strike amplifies your damage. For build order, start Blue Monster and Pot into Rocket Belt and Tier 2 boots. After this, Zhonya's and Shadow Flame are great pickups before finishing your build with any of these as needed. For skill order, start W then E then Q before maxing W then Q then E, taking ult whenever you can. For summoner spells, take Flash and Smite. Starting the game, you have a few different options. The safest option is always to do a full jungle clear to make sure you're as strong as possible to take the Scuttle Crab. Otherwise, you can do the 2 buffs into one other camp for a quick level 3 to look for that early gank with all your abilities. When you hit level 6, you get a massive power spike and want to look for kills and objectives. This is where warding and clearing out vision is incredibly important, being able to engage from Fog of War. Entering the mid game, you are the jungler, so your main focus is going to be on objectives, and the best way to do this is to secure a pick first. Once again, the best way to do this is to engage from Fog of War, fear your opponent, and blow them up. Entering late game team fights, once again, it's all about vision control. You almost always want to play as your teams engage. Being able to start a fight with a massive ultimate which also fears the entire enemy team is devastating. This, combined with all the damage you bring, is simply too much for most teams to bear, so you always want to be the one engaging, not the one engaged on.